The garden sparkled with fairy lights. Fresh roses lined the white aisle. Lagos's biggest dignitaries sat in gold chairs under a wide canopy draped with silk. Photographers clicked. Laughter echoed. Music played softly from violins as the bride walked down the aisle, elegant, glowing, flawless. Adam Johnson, the billionaire CEO of Johnson Tech, stood at the altar, calm and proud. In his designer navy blue agbada and red coral beads, he was the dream of every woman in the crowd, but his eyes were fixed on one woman, his bride, Amara. She looked like a goddess in her Ankara gown, her makeup soft, her smile brighter than the sun. She squeezed his hand lovingly. Adam smiled back. This was the happiest day of his life. He was about to marry the woman of his dreams. Then came the moment. The pastor, standing tall in a cream-colored robe, raised his hand and asked in a loud voice, "If there is anyone here who has a reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace." Silence. Then a voice dry, shaky, almost broken cut through the still air. "She's a ghost." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave. Heads turned sharply. Guests stood. Cameras zoomed in. All eyes landed on the young woman standing at the far end of the garden. Her brown gown was torn and stained with mud. Her hair was messy, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. But her voice shook the heavens. "That woman, that bride you are about to marry," she said, pointing a trembling finger toward the altar. "She's my twin sister, Amara, and she died 3 years ago." Confusion exploded. Whispers turned to shouts. "What's going on? Is this a prank? Is she mad? Twin sister? But the bride is alive." Adam froze. He looked at the bride beside him, but she wasn't there anymore. Her hand that was holding his had slowly slipped away and vanished into the air like smoke. In front of everyone, Amara disappeared. Not ran, not screamed, not fainted. She vanished like a spirit. The crowd screamed. Chairs fell. Guests ran in every direction. The once beautiful garden had become a scene of chaos and fear. But Adam didn't run. He turned back to the girl in the brown gown, the one who was now shaking, tears streaming down her muddy face. He walked up to her slowly, calmly. With his voice barely above a whisper, he asked, "How? How did you know?" She looked up at him, her lips quivering. "Because she's my twin sister, Amara. We were 19 when she died, in the same accident that killed my parents." Adam's mouth opened, but no words came out. He could still feel the warmth of the woman he held moments ago. He had kissed her, laughed with her, shared dreams with her. How could she have been dead? "Come with me," he said quietly. Amaka nodded. The security guards tried to stop her at first. After all, she looked homeless. But Adam waved them off. He walked her to his sleek black SUV, opened the door for her, and said softly, "You saved me. Let me help you." She hesitated. This felt like a dream. Just that morning, she had washed her face with rainwater from a leaking pipe near the bridge. Now, a billionaire had opened his car door for her. She stepped in, and that was how everything changed. Amaka remembered it like yesterday. The day their lives ended, she and Amara had just finished secondary school. Their parents were driving them to a small celebration dinner when a trailer ran the red light. The car flipped twice. Her ears were ringing, her legs trapped. She remembered screaming for Amara, and the silence that followed. Her parents were gone. So was Amara, or so she thought. Uncle Namdi came like a vulture. He didn't cry. He didn't hug her. He just shook his head and said, "Such is life." Then, 2 weeks later, he told her her father owed him money. Money equal to the house they lived in. She had no proof to fight him. No one stood for her, and just like that, she was on the street. For 2 years, she moved from abandoned shops to unfinished buildings. But 1 year ago, she found herself at the Oshodi underbridge. It was dirty, noisy, and dangerous, but it was safer than sleeping in front of someone's shop. Her only belongings were a faded polythene bag, a pair of slippers with one broken strap, and the brown gown she now wore. Twice, boys had tried to hurt her. She screamed and fought. One time, she was slapped so hard she bled from her nose. But still, she refused to leave. She had nowhere else to go. She begged during the day and watched stars at night. That morning, she followed the smell of food into an open garden. Her stomach growled. She thought maybe she could sneak a piece of cake or a drink. She had done it before, during big events. But what she saw stopped her heart. Amara, her face, her smile. The same dimples. The same hairline. The way she touched her necklace, it was the same silver locket they both had since they were kids. That was no lookalike. That was her twin sister. Alive? No. Something deeper inside her said no. That wasn't life. That was something else, and when she heard the pastor ask, "Does anyone object?" something inside her snapped. She couldn't let this continue. Not this lie. Not this wedding. Back in the car, Amaka sat silently beside Adam as the driver zoomed past Third Mainland Bridge. She stared out the window, still in disbelief. When they reached his mansion in Victoria Island, she gasped. The gates opened automatically. The compound was bigger than 5 of her father's old houses put together. The walls sparkled white, the windows looked like they came from America. Adam stepped down and opened her door. "This is your new home. For now." She blinked back tears. "But why?" "Because I made a promise to Amara," he said, his voice low. "She told me she wanted to run the biggest catering service in Lagos. I didn't know she was gone. But maybe that dream wasn't hers alone. Maybe it was yours too." Amaka covered her mouth. She hadn't cooked in years. But it was true, they had both loved it. Their mom taught them. They used to cook together in the tiny kitchen, giggling as they added extra pepper behind their dad's back. "You'll go for training," Adam added. "I'll sponsor everything." Amaka wiped her tears. She didn't know what to say. In just a few hours, her life had flipped like a movie scene. But something inside her said this was only the beginning. That night, as Amaka slept in a real bed for the first time in years, something cold touched her cheek. She opened her eyes slowly. The room was dark, but in the corner, standing near the window, was a glowing figure. She froze. It was Amara, and she didn't look happy. Amaka's breath caught in her throat. She couldn't move. She couldn't scream. She couldn't even blink. In the moonlight streaming through the window, the figure became clearer, glowing softly, like the light from a dying candle. It was Amara, same face, same silver necklace, same white gown she wore at the wedding that never happened. Only this time, her eyes weren't warm. They were cold, hurt, almost angry. Amaka's lips trembled as she whispered, "Amara, is it really you?" The ghost didn't speak. She only tilted her head, staring deeply into her sister's eyes, as if searching her soul. Her fingers, long and pale, gently touched the edge of the table, but didn't make a sound. Then her voice came soft, but sharp, like broken glass. "Why did you stop me?" Tears welled up in Amaka's eyes. I didn't know it was really you. I thought I was going crazy. You were gone. You died, Amara. We buried you." Amara took one slow step forward. Her bare feet didn't touch the floor. "I was finally happy. After everything, I found someone who truly loved me, who accepted me. You ruined that." "No." Amaka sat up. "I saved him. He didn't know. You didn't tell him who you really were." Amara's expression hardened. "Would you have told him if you were in my place?" Amaka blinked. Was this really happening? She was talking to a ghost, her sister, her twin. The room felt colder. The curtains fluttered, even though the windows were shut. "I didn't mean to hurt you," Amaka whispered. "But I couldn't stand there and watch a man marry someone who was no longer alive." Amara turned away, her image flickering like a weak TV signal. "You took my place," she said quietly. "You wore my face. You entered his home, his heart. You even sleep in my room." Amaka clutched the blanket tighter. "That's not true," she said. "I came here because he wanted to help me. I didn't plan this. I never asked to be here." Silence. For a moment, Amara's spirit faded. Then, suddenly, she reappeared just inches from Amaka's face. Her eyes were now glowing faint blue. "Promise me," she whispered. "Promise you what?" "That you'll never betray me again." Amaka's voice cracked. "I didn't betray you. I saved him." But Amara was already fading. As she vanished into the air, her final words echoed in the room. "I'll be watching." 1 week later, the house staff had accepted Amaka like a new queen. The chefs made her favorite meals. The maids folded her clothes neatly in the closet. The driver opened doors and greeted her with a smile. Everyone called her Madam Amaka. But at night, she couldn't sleep. She kept checking the corners, the windows, the mirrors, no more appearances. But she could feel Amara, like a breeze behind her back, like eyes watching her from shadows. Adam noticed too. One evening, as they sat by the pool, watching the water reflect the stars, Adam turned to her. "You haven't been yourself lately." Amaka forced a smile. "I'm fine." "You're not." His voice was calm but serious. "You've been quiet. You barely eat. You wake up in the middle of the night, sweating. I hear you talk in your sleep." She hesitated. Should she tell him? Would he believe her? After all, who believes someone when they say their dead twin sister is haunting them? But Adam had already seen her vanish. He had seen the impossible. Maybe he would understand. "It's Amara," Amaka whispered, staring at the pool. "She's still around." Adam didn't flinch. "She's been showing up?" She nodded slowly. "She's upset. She thinks I took her place." Adam rubbed his hands together slowly. "But you didn't. You saved me, Amaka. I was in love with someone who wasn't real, who didn't tell me the truth. I would have married a ghost, lived a lie. You brought me back to reality." Amaka looked at him, tears in her eyes. "I don't know what to do anymore. I keep thinking I did the right thing, but sometimes I feel like I stole her life." Adam reached for her hand. "You didn't steal anything. You've lived through hell, and now you deserve peace. If Amara truly loved me, she'd want me happy. She'd want you happy too." Amaka didn't reply, but that night she dreamt of Amara again, standing outside the mansion, looking up at the windows, silent, still. 2 months later, Adam fulfilled his promise. Amaka was now attending the best culinary school in Lagos. Every morning, a car dropped her off at the shiny glass building where she learned pastry, plating, and international cuisine. She wore a neat chef uniform and always carried a notebook filled with recipes. She had made friends, laughed, cooked, and slowly began to smile again. But sometimes, when she flipped a pancake, she'd hear a whisper in her ear, "You stole my dream." She'd turn around. No one would be there, but the words stayed. When she finally graduated, Adam threw a party. Celebrities attended. She cut the cake and gave a short speech. Everyone clapped. A week later, Adam gave her the key to her own catering company. A tall glass building with a big sign, Twin Flame Catering Services. Amaka smiled when she saw it. Twin Flame, a name that would always remind her of Amara. The love, the pain, the loss, and the bond that even death couldn't break. That night, after the celebration, Adam walked to the balcony of the mansion. The sky was quiet, the stars bright. Amaka stood beside him, her hair blown gently by the wind. He turned to her. "I've wanted to say this for a while now." She looked at him, confused. "Say what?" He took a deep breath, then slowly knelt on one knee, opening a velvet box. Inside was a ring, sparkling, simple, beautiful. "Amaka, will you marry me?" Her heart stopped, her lips parted. But before she could speak, the lights in the mansion went off. A gust of wind blew through the balcony, and standing at the edge of the railing was Amara, dressed in white, face pale, eyes wide, watching. The wind howled. The trees swayed. The air turned icy cold. Adam remained frozen on one knee, holding out the ring. Amaka's eyes widened, staring not at the ring but beyond it. Past Adam, to the edge of the balcony, Amara. She stood silently, her white gown flowing in the wind, though her feet made no sound. Her long hair moved like smoke around her face. Her expression? Not anger, not pain, but something deeper. Warning. Adam turned around. His breath caught in his chest. He saw her too. "Amara," he whispered. The ghost tilted her head slowly, her hollow voice carried in the wind. "You can't marry her. She carries my face, but she's not me." Amaka stumbled back. "Amara, please don't do this." The spirit's eyes locked with hers. "You were supposed to mourn me, not replace me." Tears welled in Amaka's eyes. "I never meant to take your place. I only wanted to survive." The spirit's voice trembled. "You stood at my wedding and stopped it. Now you wear my smile, my dream, my man." Adam finally stood, his face pale. "Amara, I didn't know you were not alive. I loved you, but I didn't know what you were." In quoten. Amara's ghost turned to him. "Then why do you love her? Why is she wearing the ring meant for me?" The ring in Adam's hand suddenly grew ice cold. He dropped it with a gasp. The moment it hit the floor, Amara vanished. The lights flickered back on. Silence, heavy, unbearable. The next day, Amaka didn't sleep. She stayed curled on the couch in the sitting room, hugging her knees. The maids tiptoed past her. No one dared ask what happened the night before. Adam sat across from her, staring into a cup of cold coffee. "What do we do?" Amaka finally asked. Adam rubbed his face. "I don't know. She's angry," Amaka whispered. "And she has every right to be. I stopped her wedding. Then I stayed here. Then I fell for you." Adam looked up. "Amaka, what if she never lets us be happy?" He stood slowly, walked to her, and sat beside her. "We can't live in fear of a ghost. We did nothing wrong." She looked at him, eyes red. "I did. I exposed her. I took her life. I walked into her dream." Adam shook his head. "You didn't walk into it. You built something new with the pain you've carried. You were left in the streets, alone, abandoned. You didn't ask for this. You survived it." She leaned on his shoulder, but they both knew the truth. Amara hadn't moved on. 3 months before the wedding, Adam had just arrived at a private tech conference in Abuja. After giving his keynote speech, he walked into the hotel's restaurant, hungry and tired. Then he saw her, behind the buffet table, wearing a chef's apron, smiling as she served food. Amara. Only he didn't know her name yet. She laughed when he made a joke about burnt jollof rice. She gave him extra suya, even though he didn't ask. By the next day, they had exchanged numbers. She told him her name was Amara Sampson. She said she had finished secondary school but lost her family in an accident. Said she trained as a caterer through a women's foundation. Said her dream was to run her own food business. Adam was drawn to her. Her voice, her kindness, her simplicity. They dated for 3 months. He never questioned where she lived. She said she was staying with her aunt. She always came to him. He never imagined she didn't belong to this world anymore. Back in the present, 2 weeks passed. Amaka returned to work, now managing Twin Flame Catering full-time. Her pictures were in magazines. Clients praised her food. Orders poured in, but every night, she locked her bedroom door. Every mirror in the house was now covered. Still, strange things happened. Cold spots, footsteps, a soft cry in the hallway. Sometimes, the scent of Amara's favorite perfume filled the room. One night, as Amaka stepped into the kitchen to get a drink, she stopped suddenly. All the knives had been pulled out of the drawers and laid neatly on the table in the shape of a broken heart. She dropped the glass in her hand. It shattered. Adam was hosting a private dinner for investors at the mansion. Everything was set. Amaka had personally prepared the dessert, her signature velvet pudding. As the guests clapped and raised their glasses to toast the success of Twin Flame Catering, one of them, an elderly woman, stared at Amaka for a long time. Then she spoke slowly. "You look just like the girl from the accident. Years ago. What was her name again? Amara?" The room fell silent. Adam stood quickly. "Thank you, Madam Chica. Can I show you the wine cellar?" But the damage was done. Everyone turned to stare. Whispers, questions, suspicion, and then the chandelier above the dinner table flickered. Glass began to tremble. The wine glasses started shaking. Suddenly, the chandelier came crashing down. Screams erupted. Guests ran. One man was cut on the arm. Another fainted, but no one was hurt too badly. Still, the message was clear. Amara was watching, and she wasn't happy. Later that night, Amaka stood alone in the mansion's hallway, looking at her reflection in a covered mirror. Then she pulled the cloth away, and there, in the mirror, she saw Amara, but this time, Amara was crying. A single tear ran down her pale cheek as she whispered, "You didn't just take my man. You took my second chance." Then she vanished into the mirror, leaving Amaka breathless, trembling, and afraid of the next nightfall. Amaka didn't sleep that night. She sat in the corner of her room, knees pulled to her chest, eyes fixed on the mirror she had uncovered. But it stayed still. Empty. No ghost. No Amara. Just her own face. A face she now feared wasn't fully her own. Morning came, but it brought no peace. News of the chandelier crash had reached the blogs. Photos from the dinner were everywhere. Haunted billionaire dinner. Lagos CEO's fiancé, linked to tragic family mystery. Dead twin. Live bride? Twitter reacts to ghost bride story. Even the business magazines had picked it up. Some doubted it, some believed it, some just wanted more gossip. But for Amaka, it wasn't about public opinion anymore. It was about surviving the haunting or finally healing it. A strange visit. 3 days later, Amaka received an envelope. There was no stamp, no name, no return address. Inside was a short note, written in neat cursive. You've seen her. She's waiting for peace. There's only one way to end this. Go back to where it all ended. Amaka felt a cold rush down her spine. She knew exactly what the note meant. The day of the accident. It was raining. She remembered the smell of wet leather in the car. Her father, Samson, had been telling them about the surprise dinner reservation. Amara was seated beside her, playing with her necklace. Then the truck, the screech, the screams, the glass, darkness. When she woke up in the hospital, her right arm was broken. Her head had stitches. But her parents and her twin sister were gone. She never saw the crash site. She never said goodbye. She never healed. Now, Adam didn't want her to go alone, but she insisted. If I'm ever going to be free, she told him, I need to face the beginning of the end. She wore a long black dress, nothing fancy, just clean and respectful. Her hair was packed into a bun, a simple chain with a cross around her neck. Adam sent 2 bodyguards to stay nearby, just in case. She returned to that stretch of road near Ibadan Expressway where the accident happened. Overgrown grass, broken barriers, a rusted road sign, but the scar was still there, the black skid marks on the road. She walked slowly to the exact spot where the car had flipped. The sky above was cloudy, and then the wind changed. A cold breeze brushed against her. She turned, and there, just a few feet away, Amara stood again, but not glowing this time, not angry, not haunting. Just tired. Her eyes were swollen like someone who'd cried for days. Her voice came gently. You came. Amaka nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. I died here, Amara whispered, and something in me never moved on. I woke up, and there was no peace. I saw him, Adam. I saw his light. I wanted a second chance, but you were gone, Amaka said softly. You didn't belong in this world anymore. I know, Amara nodded, a tear falling down her cheek. But I loved him. And then you came, and you wore my skin. You held his hand. You stood in my dreams. Amaka fell to her knees. I'm sorry, she cried. I never meant to take your life. I thought I was saving him. I thought I was protecting your memory. Amara knelt beside her. The wind stilled. The air warmed. Did you love him before I left? Amaka asked. Amara smiled sadly. No, I didn't know him then. He was your destiny. I just walked into it by mistake. Amaka's heart stopped. What? You were always meant to meet him, Maka, she whispered. But when I woke up in the other side, I felt alone. I saw him. He was light in the dark, and I wanted what wasn't mine. The wind picked up again, but this time it was gentle, like a mother rocking a baby. So what now? Amaka asked. Amara stood slowly. Her body began to glow again, but this time it didn't flicker or shake. It was warm, peaceful. Now, I let go, she said. But only if you do one thing. Anything. Name your daughter after me. Amaka's eyes filled again. I will. Amara smiled through tears. She leaned forward and placed her glowing forehead against Amaka's. Let me live in love. And then she was gone. Not in pain, not in anger, but in peace. The air grew quiet. A white butterfly flew past Amaka's face, and she smiled for the first time in weeks. 3 weeks later, Amaka walked down the aisle not as a homeless girl in rags, not as a scared twin with a haunted past, but as a woman who survived. She wore an off-shoulder pearl gown. Her skin glowed, her eyes sparkled. Her smile was soft but strong. Adam stood at the altar, dressed in white agbada, embroidered with gold thread. His eyes didn't leave her once. As she reached him, he whispered, You're here. She nodded. I am. The guests rose to their feet. The choir sang softly. The officiating minister smiled as he opened his book. Today we celebrate love, true love, a love that survived loss, fear, and even the spirit world. Laughter followed, and when he asked the famous question, if anyone here objects, silence, sweet, beautiful silence, no ghost, no cold wind, just peace and love. That night, after their wedding party ended and guests returned home, Amaka stepped into their new bedroom. Candles lit the room. Roses filled the corners. She turned to Adam and whispered, "I have something to tell you." "What is it?" he asked gently. She placed his hand on her stomach. His eyes widened. Her lips curved. "We're having a baby." And just then, outside the window, a white butterfly landed on the glass and didn't fly away. The room was still. Adam's hand rested on Amaka's stomach, his eyes wide with emotion. "A baby?" he whispered. Amaka nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Yes, I found out 2 days ago." Adam wrapped his arms around her gently, holding her like something fragile and priceless. "This child, it's our beginning," he whispered. Outside the window, the white butterfly still sat on the glass, glowing faintly in the moonlight, as if it was watching, protecting. 9 months later, Victoria Island was buzzing again, but not with scandal. It was celebration. The gates of Johnson Mansion were open to family, friends, celebrities, staff, and people who had once called Amaka just a homeless girl. Now, they called her something else. Madam Amaka Johnson, CEO, wife, mother. Balloons lined the gate. The lawn was decorated with soft pastel colors. A long table filled with food, catered by Twin Flame Catering Services, stretched under a shaded canopy. There were jollof rice towers, spring roll cones, fruit fountains, and a 4-tier cake that looked like something out of a fairy tale. Inside the house, in a quiet private room, Amaka sat on the bed, gently rocking a tiny baby girl wrapped in a pink blanket. Her hair was full and black. Her lips were small and curved in sleep. Adam sat beside her, his eyes never leaving his daughter's face. "She looks like you," he said softly. Amaka smiled. "And a little like her." He nodded. There was a soft knock on the door. It was the officiating minister from their wedding, wearing a simple black suit and holding a golden pen and document. "It's time to sign her name," he said with a warm smile. Amaka and Adam looked at each other, no words needed. Amaka picked up the pen and gently wrote, "Amara Peace Johnson." When she was done, she kissed the baby's forehead. "Now you'll live in light," she whispered. Not in shadows, but not everyone was happy. The moment the baby was named, a strange chill swept through the nursery. The window rattled slightly. The lights dimmed. The soft lullaby playing on the Bluetooth speaker glitched for a second, then returned to normal. Everyone froze. Amaka's heart raced. Adam stood protectively, but nothing else happened. Just silence. Then, the tiniest breeze, and the scent of that familiar perfume, wild jasmine, and a whisper so soft it could have been imagined. "Thank you for remembering me." Then it was gone. 2 weeks later, Amaka walked into the catering office at Twin Flame, now fully returned from maternity leave. The staff clapped when she entered. The reception desk now had a large framed photo of baby Amara next to a butterfly-shaped nameplate. Amaka placed her hand over her heart. "She's here," she said softly, "watching us from where it's peaceful." That day, she launched a new outreach program, the Second Chance Project, to train homeless girls in catering and give them scholarships. The first 10 girls had already enrolled. One of them, a shy 18-year-old with messy braids and no shoes, looked at Amaka with teary eyes and asked, "Madam, how did you go from Underbridge to all this?" Amaka smiled. "Because someone believed in me, and because I chose to believe in love, even after loss." A few nights later, Amaka woke up to check on baby Amara. The room was peaceful. She gently picked her up, rocked her, and began to hum a lullaby their mother used to sing. Then, near the window, she saw her again, Amara, but this time the ghost wasn't pale. She wasn't crying. She wore a soft white gown, her eyes bright, her lips curved in a gentle smile. She looked more alive than dead, and this time she glowed in peace. She placed her hands over her heart and nodded once. Then she turned and walked into the light. This time she didn't vanish in pain or anger. She left, fulfilled, free. Months later, a magazine cover read, "From Underbridge to Empire, the woman who saved a billionaire and named her daughter after a ghost." The article opened with a quote, "Her name is Amara. She is light, she is peace, and through her, my sister finally rested." Amaka Johnson. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.